Welcome to another week. This week we are going to make some custom brushes. As you know, you can go into GIMP and use the brushes to do all kinds of fun stuff. This week I'm going to show you how to make your own custom brushes and how to save them into your palette of brushes, I guess, so to speak. So let's start by making a new file new. And this week we are going 800 by 620, I believe. 300 ppi, although this matters more for printing, but if you need to, you can click on advanced options and choose your resolution for X and Y. Here I have 300 here. That's what we want. So 800 by 620, 300 by 300. Click OK. And there's our canvas here. So again, with the brushes here, you can go into your tool presets and change some things about your brushes. For example, I can grab a brush like this and make some really cool patterns. I can also draw a straight line across, but I can also edit the brushes too. So if I go to the tool presets, I can even change the spacing between each one, and you can see how there you can kind of increase or decrease the spacing. You can change the hardness and the force, and see how that changes it. It just sort of makes a different pattern or a different look. So there's all kinds of things you can do with the settings here in the brushes. You can also mess with the angle, which is kind of interesting. On this one, it wouldn't matter so much. But the brushes, there are a lot of brushes that you already have, in GIMP, but you can also make your own. So I'm going to show you how to make your own today. So what you do is you click on your brush palette right here. It's that looks like a white document, but all your brushes are in there. And that's up here on the top here. And to make a new brush, you just go down to the bottom of this window, and it says create a new brush. It looks like the create a new layer logo. But if you click on that, you can create a new simple brush here. You have 3 shapes to start with. So I'm going to make 3 of these simple brushes with these shapes. This is our sphere here. So if you really want to see it, just bring the radius up. The radius is what you're going to use to increase it. Okay. And these are basically the tools we can use to edit the brush itself. You can bring up the spikes. If you bring up the hardness and mess with the spikes here, you can usually find something kind of interesting. Aspect ratio is another one that kind of is cool and can help you shape your brush. I kind of like that. Okay, and then you can also, like I said, turn down the hardness and make it a little more interesting that way, and make a cool brush like that. Let's go ahead and let's increase the spacing a little bit. That's kind of interesting. We can increase that a little bit more. And you can see you can create nice patterns that way too. So let's bring the radius down just a little bit. And that's kind of an interesting brush. Let's go ahead. Let's play with the hardness a little more. If you bring that down even more, you can see you can get some really nice, interesting effects going there. Let's bring the spacing back down. That looks kind of cool. Bring that down just a little bit more. That's an interesting pattern right there too. So let's say you like that. Let's bring the radius down just a little bit more. That's kind of a neat look. We can call that, let's call that, well, if we click on one of them there, glowing flower or something like that. So you see where it says Untitled 41 up here. If you just go up here and change the name, okay. I think there was a space there I didn't need. Maybe not. Guess not. Okay. Just change the name up there. And if you look here, Control Z, we'll undo that. Now, if we go into our brushes here, you can see it's right there. So it saves, these simple brushes will save automatically in here. You just need to name them so you know where they are when you go in here. You can identify them by name. So now what we'll do is we'll go into our layer window here, and we'll actually going to create a new layer. Okay, so right here, hold down Shift and click on that, and you can automatically create a new layer. We're going to bump this down a little bit. That's probably good about right there. And you click once on here, and then what you do is you push Shift and hold it down and drag across, and you can make a straight line. And that's what you want to do with each brush. You want to make a straight line there. And we're going to call this one Glowing Flower, just like the one that's in your palette. Okay, and so with each layer, you're going to draw a straight line across, and then you're going to name whatever you named it in your brush palette here, which is Glowing Flower for this one. Okay, so straight line all the way across just to see what it looks like when you do a brush stroke. Okay, so that's the first one. Then if we want to make another one, of course, we want to go to down here. We want to go to create a new brush. So we're going to click that, create a new brush. This time we're going to use the cube. Okay, and let's bring the radius up so we can see it a little bit. And now here's where the angle becomes important, and also the aspect ratio when you're using the cube. That's kind of interesting there. And if you look at that, that makes a unique brush too all its own. So let's go ahead and bring the hardness down on this one. And notice there it produces a nice, interesting line there. Let's bring it up now so you can see what it looks like at 100%. It's just a straight up cube, right? So you want to find a good spot for the hardness of this. And again, you can play with the aspect ratio. That's kind of interesting too, especially if we mess with the spacing here. Well, I like that a lot. That's kind of a unique brush. Okay, and then let's play with the hardness some more here. Well, that's kind of cool. I like that one a lot. We can also increase the spikes here. So that's kind of an interesting line too, like that. And let's mess with the spacing here. Okay, that's a little much there. That's really unique looking. I like that. Let's do that. Let's bring the hardness down a little bit more. Well, that's kind of neat too. Let's call that I don't know. It's a good name for that. We can make that a little smaller too. Maybe just a little bit smaller. There, that matches the other one. Let's call this one Dizzy Lights. Okay, so again, you go up here where it says Untitled 41, and that's the name of it if you forget to name it. And just go ahead and name your brush here. All right, and then let's go over to our layers here. Let's make a new layer. Shift click, and we're going to call this Dizzy Lights. And we're going to draw a stroke across here on this. So now notice here, each brush should be on its own layer. Okay. Okay, hold down Shift, go across, and we're going to do a stroke, a straight line. And that's what Dizzy Lights looks like in a pattern. So you notice here we have two unique brushes, each with their own look and their own amount of shading. So make sure each brush is unique in its own way when you do this. Okay, so we're going to do one more. We're going to do the next brush here as a simple brush like we did before. So we're going to go ahead and click on Add New Brush or Create a New Brush. This time we're using a diamond. Okay, so let's bring up the rate. And this is kind of like the cube, right? So we can make our shape kind of unique. I like that a lot. And bring the hardness down. And notice there, that's kind of an interesting one too. You want to try to make each look a little bit different than the others. Okay, and then there's the aspect ratio. That's kind of neat right there. Let's see if we can bring the spacing down a little bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good. That's more of a solid line, but I do like that. Let's bring the hardness down and see what that looks like. Okay, that's kind of neat too. Maybe bring the spacing out a little more again. And notice there, with the spacing, when you increase it, it just creates more of a blank space between each stroke, or between each spat, I guess. And let's try that. That looks kind of interesting too, and that's unique. Maybe bring up the spikes a little more. That's more of a star. I like that. Let's do that, and we'll bring the spacing in a little bit and the hardness down. Actually, let's bring that all the way down and see what that looks like. Kind of looks like the last one as far as shading goes, so we'll bring this back up. Ooh, I like that. It's kind of unique. Maybe space it out a little bit more. Okay. Yeah, let's just bring in some more spikes here. Kind of interesting there. Bring the hardness up a little bit more. And the spacing up a little bit more. Okay. So you get the idea here. You can increase those too. That's starting to look like the other ones though. So I'm going to make it less spiky here. Again, I think I like that shape the best. Okay, and bring the spacing back a little bit. That looks pretty cool. I like that. Let's call this one vertebrae. And let's bring the hardness down just a little bit more. Yeah, I think we're going to leave that one up. Okay, then we'll just bring the spacing up. Just a little bit more. That looks cool. That's kind of a unique line. Okay, and we'll call this one vertebrae. So you want to name each one, of course. And then we'll go to our layers window here and make a new layer. Click OK. And let's see how big we want this to be. That's a little large here, so let's go ahead and bump that down a little bit. Okay, that's pretty close. Bring that down a little bit more. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to click once on here, hold down Shift. While you're holding down Shift, just draw a line across so you think it's straight, and click again. And there's our third brush. So we have 3 unique brushes here so far. And in the next segment of the video, I'm going to show you how to create some custom brushes using imagery. Okay, so we have our 3 basic brushes that we created. Now I want to show you how you can make a custom brush, maybe combining some of these elements. So let's go ahead and let's create a new layer here. Click OK. And we're going to turn off these so we can see this a little better. It looks like our background needs a little movement there. So let's move that back into position here. There we go. So on this top layer, so I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple of my custom brushes here. I had the Dizzy Lights. I really like that one. And I can click on here. Let's see here. Let's see if we can bump up the... Oops, wrong one there. Oh, probably help if... Okay. So I have Dizzy Lights here. I'm going to use that one. So make sure you select your brush again. And I can click on there. That's a little small. I want to make it larger so I can see it. I'm going to bring this up a little bit. Now also, even though this is a custom brush, I can go in and play with some of the controls here. Again, I can bring up the hardness a little bit more again if I want to. That looks good there. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to my other custom brush here, which is my glowing flower. I'm going to add those around the outside, to each of the beams here. So we're going to make this one smaller, maybe about there. Just add this to the end of each beam here. I'm just eyeballing it here. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, that looks pretty good right there. And let's see if we can add something for vertebrae on here also. I don't know what that would do. Maybe between those. Let's see. Let's bump this down a little bit smaller. Okay, and I'm just using the left bracket tool here. Let's bring it up just a little bit. Maybe one just in between those. Okay, so I'm making a custom brush here. And again, make sure you're on your own layer. Using the 3 brushes I already created. So that's kind of a creative way to use those. Okay, and then one more there. Okay, so that's kind of a neat shape there. I'll call that one kaleidoscope. But first, what I have to do is save this out. Okay, this is not just a simple brush that I can save here. So what I'm going to do is turn off the background layer here, and I'm just going to save this part here. Okay, and here's how you do it. You go up to File, Export, and we're going to call this Kaleidoscope. And it's not going to be a PNG, so we're going to go down to the bottom here, select File Type by Extension, and we're going to save it out as a GIMP brush. So a GBR file. So select GBR, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go into whatever our C drive is named. In my case, it's named Mando. You should find a folder called App Data if you're on a Windows machine. If it doesn't show up, just push Control plus H. Notice there that my App Data folder disappeared when I click Control H. Now watch, when I hit Control H again, it reappears. So Control plus H if this folder isn't showing up. And then click on App Data, click on Roaming, find your GIMP folder, click on the version, and then find your brushes folder. And there it is. So double click your brushes folder. We're going to call this Kaleidoscope, and it's a GBR file. Click Export. Again, make sure it's still named Kaleidoscope. Spacing here, I'm going to make that minimal, spacing 1. Click Export. Okay, and I'm going to save this and close this. And I'm going to reopen it now, and I should be able to see that brush in my brush window, in my palette. Okay, let's reopen that file. Okay, and let's look inside here and see if we can find Kaleidoscope. There it is, Kaleidoscope. Okay, so again, if I go out here to the, if I go out to my layers here and turn these back on, this layer here, we can just delete this layer now, and I'll make a new one. So let's make a new layer. Click OK, and we'll just draw it down here. So again, go up here. Okay, so then grab your brush here, and notice there, if you click once on it, it does that. And so let's go ahead and bring the size down. So we're going to bring the size down to about the size of the others. And notice there it's not that interesting by itself. That's just a regular line, but it does work. And you can also change the spacing, don't forget. And look at that. That's a really cool line based on the spacing. So let's go ahead and put kaleidoscope about right here. Hold down Shift. And that one we'll call kaleidoscope here. Let's try that again. That looks good there. Okay, so on this layer, we're going to call that kaleidoscope. So notice there you can, even if you create a custom brush, you can also edit it in your brush settings here. So that's kind of neat there. So that's my kaleidoscope. So far I have 4 unique looking brushes. And then in the next one, I'm going to show you how to use some imagery. Okay. Okay, so in the next brush, I'm going to actually use an image. So I'm going to create a new layer here. I'm going to call this dice. And I'm just going to bring an image in that I got from Pixabay here. And it's an image of a die. So before I do that, though, I also want to put, actually, I'll just put this as dice background here. And again, on this one, if I want to get rid of the background, I'm going to choose Add Alpha Channel. And for this, I'm going to do this, try to do this quickly here if I can. Let me zoom in here. I'm just going to use this free select tool and just kind of see if I can just do a quick version of selection here without taking too much time. Actually, let's go here. Let's keep going here. All the way down to here. Okay, then we'll keep going here. Hold down Shift, you can add to the selection there. So now that I'm holding Shift, watch, it'll add to what's already been selected. So if you don't get everything, just hold down Shift, then hit Enter, and oh, look at that. I still didn't get it all. Okay, so there I've got my selection there. Now I could hit delete now, but watch what happens. Of course, it gets rid of the die. So you want to go up to select and choose invert and just delete the background. And there you go. Now I've got the dice there. Oh, I still got the background, it looks like. So let's go ahead and, oh, I forgot to add the alpha channel maybe. Hit delete. There we go. Okay, so make sure you add alpha channel if you want to delete the background. I forgot to do that time. Shift Control A, and there's my dice. So far, so good. I'm going to duplicate this layer, but first I'm going to turn these off. And then I'm going to duplicate that layer. I'm going to grab my Move tool and just move one out from the other. Maybe something like that. Turn this off, and now what I'm going to do is go up to Layer, choose New from Visible. Okay, now I can delete this layer, and I can delete this one. And I'm going to turn this into a brush. I can delete that one as well. Okay, so this is going to be a brush here, so I'm going to go ahead and resize this. Let's grab our scale tool, and let's just go ahead and bring this down. Then bring this one down. I forgot to lock the chain there. Okay, click scale, grab our move tool, and there's our brush right there. So I'm going to call this dice. So again, to save it out, you go to File, Export. We're going to call this dice. It's going to be a brush, a GBR. Okay, and again, you want to click on Mando or whatever your C drive is named. Find app data. App data, double click it. Roaming. GIMP 2.10, and then find your brushes folder. Go ahead and export it. And we're going to call this dice. Okay, spacing, we're going to bring down to 1 again. Click export. Again, you can save this, close it out, and let's go ahead and reopen it. Okay, and so we'll open our recent here. There it is, and let's get rid of that layer. We'll add a new layer here. Okay, and let's see if we can find that brush in here. And there it is, right? There's dice. So we're going to go back to, we're going to select our brush here, brushes. Let's go back and turn these on. And we're going to put that brush right down here. Okay, so let's bring this down. Okay, getting there. Okay, and let's mess with the spacing here too. Again, go to Tool Presets. And that's a cool brush right there. And we could even play with the hardness and force too. You can make it something almost unrecognizable. Let's bring those back up. So you can see how you can really customize these brushes. Look at that. Doesn't even look like the same brush, does it? But let's bring these up to 100% so you can see exactly what it is. So we'll do that. Let's make it a little smaller. That's pretty good right there. Perfect. Okay, so click once here, hold down Shift, make a straight line, and that's our dice. Okay, so we're going to call that dice. All right, so now that we've done that, now let's go ahead and do, let's kind of make our own here. I'm going to shut these all off here, except for the background. I'm going to make a new layer. I'm not going to name it yet. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to just bring in a couple of images here. So let me see what I can find here. Maybe a couple of scenery images. So again, let's go to Pixabay and see what we can find here. And let's just look for natural landscape, maybe. Ooh, there's some nice ones there. Ooh, that's cool. I like that. Let's see if we can get this one. Let's see, that's an iStock photo. So I'm not going to grab that one. I just want to grab one from Pixabay. That's a cool one right there. Let's see if we can get that one. There we go. Again, I don't need it too huge. Actually, let's get the bigger one this time. Let's see what we can do here. So that's a thunderstorm. We're going to use that one. And let's find one other one that we can use. Let's try maybe let's try a pattern with a landscape there. Just so we can find a pattern. Oh, there we go. So this is kind of neat. Let's find a pattern that would go good with that. Let's see. Let's look at this. So there's our image. So it's a little bit of reds, a little bit of violets there. Maybe something green to complement it. That might be good. The peacock feathers. Yeah, let's try that one. And about the same there. Okay, and we'll put that one over here. All right, so we've got those two images now. And so now let's go ahead and bring these in. So we'll bring this one onto the first layer. And then we'll do another, let's do another layer here. And we'll bring in the peacock feathers. Cool. All right, and let's do a blending mode for these. I guess we don't need that layer, so let's just, well, we'll just delete it for now. Let's go on here and let's do a blending mode here. And see what we get. That looks kind of neat. Bring the opacity down a little bit. Well, that's kind of cool. I like that. It looks kind of cool. Let's keep trying. Let's try a few more here. Let's try overlay. Bring that up a little bit. That looks pretty cool right there. And maybe let's try difference. Difference is always fun. Ooh, I like that. Bring that down about there. Maybe that looks kind of cool right there. And let's just go ahead and do our usual new from visible. Okay, and we'll take these and get rid of these. Or better yet, let's do another blending mode up on top of this one. Okay. Actually, let's do this. Let's go up top here. Look at that. It just really brings out the colors. That's just gorgeous. So that's overlay, but let's try exclusion. Actually, overlay was looking pretty good. I like that. Let's keep that. And same thing again. We'll do new from visible, and then we can delete these three. Okay, and we're going to do on that layer, we're going to, well, let's bring it down a little bit maybe. Or you know what? Better yet, let's do this. Let's make a map. Well, yeah, let's make it smaller first of all. Make this a little bit smaller. Hit enter there, and we can bring this out up here. And let's go ahead and do a new layer here. And on this layer, again, we'll have a black background. And then we'll do one more layer above that. And on this layer, we're going to make a star. Okay, so let's go ahead and just make a little star here. Okay. Might be a little bit of an uneven star, but that's okay. Select that area, and then we're going to make that white. Okay, and then on this layer, we don't need this layer right now, so we're going to get... do we need to get rid of that? Yeah, we can get rid of that. So we've got this layer above it on this one. And let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and make this one larger again, actually. Let's do that. So let's go ahead and resize this layer. Let's see, we want to get out of this. Shift Control A, go on this layer here, and we're just going to resize this back to where it was here. I think we can keep that the way it is for now. Go ahead and scale that. And we're going to just go ahead and make a mask there. So again, on this one, we're going to cut it, Control X, Control Z, Control Z. Let's cut this layer here, this top layer. Control X, and we're going to make a mask again here. Click Add, and again in here we're going to Control V and paste that. And there we have a nice image there with color for our... Okay, and that looks pretty cool. I like that. And let's go ahead and anchor this. Okay, and there we have that one layer here. And I think what we can do is get rid of that background there in that layer. So let's go ahead and let's choose layer new from visible. Delete this one. And on this visible one, all we need to do is grab our, let's grab our selection tool. Well, first of all, what did I forget to do? I forgot to make an alpha channel. So let's go ahead and right click on this layer. And it looks like it's already got an alpha channel. So we should be good to delete this. Okay, so far so good. And let's do the same thing down here. Can delete that. And now let's grab our fuzzy select tool. Let's select all that area. And notice there, got rid of it. So there's our star. I like that. We're going to call this, I don't know what we're going to call this yet, but let's resize it here just a little bit. We'll call it Hippie Star. How about that? I like that. So I'm going to call this Hippie Star. Oops. I don't know why I'm naming it yet because I haven't saved it out as a brush, but we're going to save that out now. So I'm going to go to File, Export. We're going to call this Hippie Brush. And again, the type of file here is going to be a GIMP brush, GBR. And again, make sure you're going to Mando. Here's Mando here. App Data. Roaming. I'm just making sure I got the right path. GIMP 2.0 brushes. Okay. So export. And we're going to call this again. Got to rename it here again. Hippie Brush. And again, I like to keep the spacing down to 1. Click Export, and that brush now should be in our brushes. May not be in there yet. But we will find it. So maybe I have to close this out. So let's go ahead and save this. Then I'll come back and reopen it. Okay, so now I'm going to reopen GIMP here. And hopefully we'll find that brush called Hippie Star. Again, you want to name your brushes and also include the names in your layer window so I can see what you decided to call them. So let's go ahead and open that file again. Okay, and there it is. And so on this layer, I don't really need this anymore, so I'm just going to erase it. So I'm going to grab me eraser. And we'll just get rid of that, and then we'll just use the brush to do a stroke here. Okay, that takes care of that. Let's go ahead and turn these back on. That way I can line them up when I'm ready. And then we should see it in here somewhere. Let's see. There it is. Hippie Brush. Sorry, I said Hippie Star. Hippie Brush. So we can bring this down. Let's bring the size of this down. Now, if this takes too long using just the bracket tools, remember you can also resize it right here in the tool presets. That's, obviously too small. Let's go ahead and turn the background back on here. Let's go to Hippie Star Layer. And again, grab your brush and let's bring this up. Okay, and we got the brush there. Let's do this. Let's see if there's anything on this layer. Aha. So let's delete this layer. That was giving me problems here. We'll turn these back on. We'll just use our own layer there. There we go. All right, so now let's play around with some of the controls for this last one. Again, I want to space this one out as well and make it kind of interesting. That looks kind of neat. And let's bring down the hardness in the force and see what it looks like. So you can see you can produce some nice, interesting lines that way. Okay. Let's bring these up a little bit. Oh, I like that. And let's bring the spacing back just a little bit. And we can even mess with the angle a little bit if we want to. Okay, that looks kind of neat. Space it out a little bit more, maybe. You can even mess with the aspect ratio. Okay, so play around, and again, the great thing about these, I like that. The great thing about these is they're very customizable. Hold down Shift, run that across, okay, and then we can go back to the layers here, and let's call this, again, Hippie Brush, or Hippie Star, something like that. And maybe if with our dice we can resize that a little bit. Okay, let's change the height. Click Scale. Grab our Move tool, and we'll get these evened up nicely. Kaleidoscope here. Let's move that one up a little bit. Well, actually, we can move them all just a little bit, huh? Dizzy lights here. I like that one. Vertebrae. Kaleidoscope. We'll just kind of move these toward the top here. Dice here. And finally, Hippie Star right here. So you have a combination of grayscale or black brushes, black and gray brushes, and a few color brushes. Just by importing imagery, maybe even masking some elements and adding some imagery in there, you can create some nice custom brushes that way. And so once you're finished, you just go up to File and you save it. So in this case, I'm going to save this as 10-Acker. Okay, so File, Save, or Save As if you need to, and just type in 10-your last name. And that's going to basically do it for this project. And what you're going to do is you're going to send me the GIMP file. So the file that you're going to upload into Canvas, you're going to go into wherever you saved it. And right here, you're going to post the XCF file. So you're not going to render this out as a JPEG or anything else. You're going to send me the actual GIMP file, the .xcf file.